beyond northern Nigeria, does that mean there's no Islam elsewhere in Nigeria? I now had to self-teach myself, delved into Western Nigeria, and found out that some people have actually studied Islam in Western Nigeria. I read up their works, and then I looked into Eastern Nigeria, where very little was done by that time. At the time I was coming to work on Islam in Eastern Nigeria, there were just about 4 publications already. The first one was dated in the 1950s. The first study was done in the 50s by Simon Utenberg, but published in 1971. It was followed by another study done by a Pakistani, published in 1984. And 2 studies done by a white man, Anthony Douglas, published in 2000. Then a brief study done by the first Nigerian to engage with Islam in Eastern Nigeria, but he's from the West. An article he did on the city of, when I started, people had a lot of things to say. I mean, my colleagues, wow, what are you venturing into? There are no Muslims here, there are no Muslims here. Eventually, I was able to locate a Muslim within the axis of the university, around the university environs. And he directed me to Enugu, where there's an Islamic center. And from there, I proceeded. So what I'm trying to say is research in Nigeria is not easy. It's not easy because we don't have funding to depend upon. We have to support ourselves. So you have to do that. You also have to deal with the fact that people think you're wasting your time. You know, we kind of look down on anything that will make us use our money for the public good. We don't think we can invest for what does not primarily benefit us. When the issue is for general good, no, we don't handle it well. We kind of think we are plowing, we are wasting our resources. So for me, it has not been that way. I have enjoyed researching in Nigeria, but I have to also depend on my own resources to do that. And then I must say that I have a very supportive husband who also supports financially and morally and even accompanies me to the field. So that's very encouraging. If it is to look at people out there, you know, for encouragement, no, it doesn't come that way. And that even applied when I studied women and civil war in Anioma, the West Niger area. You know, it was too far-flung a study. Again, I had to depend on my resources, and I had to mobilize myself mentally, emotionally, encouragement-wise, everything to do it. So these are the challenges.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now, that your research, the role of women in the Nigerian Civil War, in this case, in your specific area that you concentrated on, can you share anything about us? What was the key message that you wanted to pass in that book, in that research? Of course, the book is available on Amazon for any person that want to buy it. Yeah, but okay, what was the key message that you were concentrating on?
It wasn't just one message. There were several messages coming out from that study. The first message is that the Civil War was not fought only east of the Niger, the Igbo mainland east of the Niger, Eastern Nigeria, no. The war was equally fought west of the Niger in Delta State, the Igbo area known as Anioma. It was fought there. So we have these two major theaters of war. Much of the happenings actually took place in the east, but the west, the Anioma area, was another important theater of war that could not be ignored. That's one message. The second message is that women were as much a part of the war as men. It was not only men that fought the war. In fact, the Anioma scenario brings it out very well. Women were in the fighting force. Women played as much part as the men. And women were very instrumental in the successes of that war. If Biafra succeeded in the war, it was because they had women backing them up. My sister, my senior sister, as I will call her, Professor Gloria Chukwu, who studied the role of women east of the Niger, showed how instrumental they were in supporting the war effort. I wrote a little on east of the Niger, not as much as I did west of the Niger. So I understand very well what women did. West of the Niger, women, they were superheroines. They were very, very wonderful in their support of this war. Their case was peculiar because when the Federal Army invaded that area, Delta State precisely, that is, then it was Midwest, from Midwest to Bendel State before it became Delta State. The Igbo area, when the federal troops invaded the Igbo area, they started by massacring the men. There was massive extermination of the men. With the men no more available, the women took charge. The women had the men to rely on, but when the men were gone, they were defenseless. They were not intimidated. They did not go into hiding. Those of them that decided to join the fighting corps moved to the east and joined the fighting corps. Those that remained with one mind to help their brothers and their sisters east of the Niger to survive the war. So they organized extensively. After burying their husbands, burying their brothers, burying their male children that died, they took over the trade that sustained the war in the East. There was nothing they did not do to navigate the soldiers, the federal troops, to send resources to the fighting team east of the Niger. And the military officers that commanded the war in different fronts confessed indeed that their greatest challenge were the women. It was easy to deal with the men, to remove them, to kill them, but they couldn't break the spirit of the women who continued to fight a war by supporting the fighting corps, sending resources, sending food items to help cushion the harsh effects of the war east of the Niger. So that's the second message. The third message is the society was never the same again. Before the Civil War, female education was not very popular, especially in that part of Nigeria, the Midwest, and the Igbo area in the Midwest. The war kind of was a big lesson to women. Women saw what happened during the war. They saw how difficult it was for them to survive. They observed that the few people who had life relatively easy were those who had a measure of education. So when government was put in place over that axis, that is the Western axis, those women who had trained as either teachers or trained as nurses or trained as secretaries could get a job in the government. Their sisters who did not go to school couldn't. Now, these sisters, and they were much, much more in number, who didn't go to school, they were the ones that now championed female education after the war. Many mothers said, my daughter must go to school. This is no longer normal for only the boys to go to school. The girl also should go to school. So you could see the social change it brought about, a total cultural change. It opened a big door of education to women, and it changed quite a lot of things. At least we can take these three messages as coming from that study.